Dareth is by far one of the most polarizing characters within all of Ninjago. There are a lot of fans that absolutely love the character of Dareth, and there are some people that absolutely loathe him. He definitely does seem to be a very Marmite type character, a character where there doesn't seem to really be a lot of people that just find themselves down the middle when it does come to him, and I do think that is very interesting to see. So I wanted to take a look at both sides of the argument when it does come to Dareth, truly decipher what people like about him and what people don't like about him, and try to come to a conclusion and a consensus on what Dareth truly is as a character, because I want to know what you guys think of him as well, because I do think he is very interesting to talk about. So sit back, relax, and join me on a journey where we take a look at the highs and the lows of the Brown Ninja, and truly come to the decision on one particular aspect, which is he deserving of the hate, or is he more than deserving of the love that he gets, or does he sit down the middle? Because that is the true question that I want answered. I'm going to start with the common negatives that I do hear about Dareth and then move into the more positive side. The first thing that I hear a lot of people talk about is the idea that Dareth is just quite simply an annoying character. The main season that a lot of people cite for this point is actually Hunted. Of course, Dareth was a fairly major aspect of this season, but the thing is that a lot of his scenes are taken up by him just being a general nuisance. Whether it's him trying to get elemental power, whether it's him trying to budge in on the plans of the Resistance, there have been a lot of moments where Dareth has just quite simply have been in the way. And a lot of people have attributed that then furthermore to the idea that he is just simply annoying and he has outlived his stay within the franchise of the show. And I'm going to be honest, I do agree with this to an extent. I do think Dareth definitely does have his moments where he just feels a little out of place, especially in a season like Hunted, where he is definitely meant to be not really as in the focus as they ended up putting him in, because it's a much more serious season than most. But the thing is that the scenes that he does have aren't the worst inherently. I mean, of course, the whole thing of him trying to have an elemental power is just a bit meh. Of course, a fair section of one of the episodes of Hunted were taken up with him just constantly going back and forth to the bathroom. But the thing is that it's not necessarily bad, but it also doesn't remove the idea that he's annoying. It's polarizing. I think if you like Dareth, this kind of stuff isn't bad, but if you don't like him, it definitely is amplified to the extreme when it does come to your problem with him. It's definitely the biggest example of you either love him or you hate him, because that's probably the bread and butter for a lot of Ninjago fans. But that is the first point of him being annoying, and I really can't see how this can be misconstrued as a negative point about Dareth. The second one that I see a lot is around the idea of the usage of Dareth, and more specifically how he has been overused during points of the show. Of course, this is mainly coming down to the more classic era. He was introduced in season 2 and he does have a fair role within that season, and of course he does play a fairly major aspect at the end, taking over the Stone Army. He then has a relatively decent role in season 3, he has his scenes here and there, but he's mainly serving as a B-plot. He has a relatively minor role in season 4, and they give him a break when it does come to season 5, outside of a small cameo. But the thing is that season 6, Day of the Departed, 7, 8, and 9, he is a fairly major aspect of those seasons. He is definitely there, and he is a fairly big part of those moments. And I definitely do think this is where a lot of people got Dareth fatigue, because it took a character that probably wasn't initially intended on being that pivotal, and definitely did put him in a lot of different moments. And I do think that did just simply wear a lot of people out. I do think to an extent the show then did acknowledge this, because whilst he is in season 11 and season 12 to an extent, and then he does play a role in Crystallized, and then a very small cameo in Dragon's Rising, the thing is that he doesn't show up nearly as near as much as he did before. He is very much now in the background and barely does have time to himself. Even when he is in a scene, it's definitely just to play on for something else. He's never really the focus anymore after this point in time, and I do think that is because they did hear the criticism about him being overused. I do think a lot of people at the time were talking about the usage of Dareth and how he was being used a lot of the time. So honestly, I am seeing what a lot of people are saying. Because I do think above anything else, I do agree with the notion that I don't think they intended on him being that much of a usage of a character. I really don't think they intended on him actually having all of that screen time. But obviously, there was a big popularity for Dareth at one point during the show, and I do think that is why they simply did it. But of course, as of now, where the shift of Dareth has definitely taken place, I do think they have lessened down on him for that particular reason. But honestly, I do understand the whole thing of being overused. It definitely did feel like there were a lot of moments that didn't really need Dareth, but he was there. So I am definitely seeing that point, and I am going to hear it out for that particular reason. And then you do get to point 3, which is just quite simply the main point when it comes to Dareth, and really isn't excusable in any sort of way. And that is, of course, how he was at the start of Season 6. He was blatantly sexist towards Nia during that portion of the season, and there is just absolutely no excuse for this. I really don't know what they were thinking in terms of the writing of Dareth. Honestly, I do kind of think that they just needed to fill the stereotype of a really bad faith producer, and they just simply gave it to Dareth. But the thing is that regardless of how you spin it, he was doing that during that portion of the season, and it's just completely a no. Dareth being a sexist is just by far one of the worst decisions they ever made in the show, and it definitely does serve as the main reason why a lot of people don't like Dareth to this very day, because regardless of how you look at it, he did do it, and I think that is the thing that just completely turned people off of this character. So I'm not really going to argue this point in any sort of sense. It's just unacceptable, and honestly, it's definitely one of the main reasons why the writers really shouldn't have done it when it did come to the character. You could also even bleed this into the other points about Dareth if you think about it. The overuse of Dareth caused them to expend too many ideas on him, and they resorted to really bad plot points such as this one, and again, it definitely made him a lot more annoying to people who still tolerated the character after the fact. But those are the 3 things when it does come to Dareth that a lot of people just simply do not like when it does come to him. And honestly, I'm really seeing the point. But let's now actually move on to the reasons why people do like Dareth, and I do think that is a very interesting thing to look at. For one, a lot of people do like him for the fact he is a comic relief. The thing is that the people who find him annoying are the ones who don't like the comedy aspect of him, but a lot of people praise him because Dareth is their kind of sense of humor, and I do think that does immediately give people bonus points when it does come to the character. If you find a character funny, you are definitely a lot more inclined to actually like them as a character in general. And it's really kind of difficult to disagree with that, because a lot of people just simply find it funny. You can't criticize someone because they find something funny. That's just kind of something that you can't do. So, and honestly, when it does come to this point, and honestly the main point when it does come to Dareth, I really do not mind it. I really do think that there is something to him when it does come to that. And ultimately speaking, that is what he was designed to be. He was designed to be the funny comic relief character, so he certainly did accomplish that in that regard. The second thing that a lot of people cite when it comes to Dareth is the fact that he is extremely loyal to the ninja, and that is something that should be commended. The thing is that Dareth, both to the ninja's face and away from the ninja, will stop at nothing to defend who they are and what they truly stand for. Dareth has proved time and time again that he is loyal to his friends, and he definitely doesn't intend on stopping that anytime soon. There have been multiple scenes throughout the course of the show that have just shown Dareth attempting to help the ninja in any way he can, defend the ninja in any way he can. He has definitely done anything he can within his very limited power to be able to help out the ninja, and I do think that is something that should be commended. At the end of the day, he's just a dude. He is someone who doesn't have powers, he doesn't have the strength of the ninja, he doesn't have the abilities of the ninja, yet he will stop at nothing to defend them if it means that he can truly help them out. And again, that is honestly really cool to see, and it definitely does speak a lot to his character when it does come down to it. Like I mentioned earlier with Season 9, a lot of people of course call him annoying during that season, but the thing is that one of the things that he is trying to do when it does come to him getting an elemental power is just to be useful to the resistance. It's so he has a place, it's so he actually feels actually helpful, and that's the thing, he's not doing that for any sort of selfish purposes, and I do think that is honestly something that should be commended. Honestly, I get why people find it annoying, but when you look at his motives, they're honestly very pure in nature. It is certainly tough, because ultimately speaking, Dareth did also want the powers because he wanted powers, and I do think that is just a very big aspect you have to consider. But at the end of the day, he is loyal to the ninja. He has been an ally to them for an extremely long time, and he has never wavered in that fact. You know, for example, Ronan, he is strayed away, and that is a very big aspect when it does come to Ronan's character. But Dareth just never makes that decision, and it is worthy of commending him for it. But what is even more worthy of commending than that is honestly the fact that the last thing that a lot of people say is that when you look at it, even without all of the powers and all of the toys that he has got, he is still a hero. And there are two examples that really do show that to be the case. The one scene that I will always personally go back to when it does come to Dareth is the scene in Season 3, when he has taken all of the school children to the aquarium to look at all the animals. The moment where all of the kids are under threat of the shark, Dareth puts himself directly in harm's way. Dareth knows for a fact that he might not walk out of that situation alive. He might be mauled by the shark there and then. But the thing is that he still puts himself in harm's way in favor of the children. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. A coward would have just simply have ran. A version of Dareth, probably from Season 2, honestly would have ran away in that moment. But this version of Dareth didn't, and he did stand in the way. Regardless of how you feel about him, you can't really go at him for something like that. The thing is that objectively, he has done heroic actions, and I really do think that is something that can't go unnoticed. Yes, again, he is sexist, but the thing is that he's also weirdly a hero. I honestly think this is just the product of bad writing. I don't think they intended on Dareth to be inherently sexist. I do think they intend on being that really weird hero type, but the thing is that you do have to consider it when it does come down to it. But I want to not stray away from the fact that Dareth, by all accounts, is a hero. Dareth has saved lives. Dareth has been a net positive when it does come to the world of Ninjago. And I do think that is a very big aspect that you do have to consider when you do come to your opinion of Dareth. And that's what it is. What is my overall opinion on Dareth? I've looked at the positives, I've looked at the negatives. How do I truly feel about him? Well, he's an idiot. He is a complete idiot, and he makes a lot of really stupid mistakes. He is very used when it does come to the show, and it definitely does feel better now that they've reduced his usage. And yeah, he can be very annoying at times. But when it does come to his objective actions within the course of the universe, I really can't commend him enough. The thing is that again, he is objectively done good for Ninjago, whether he notices it or not, and whether or not he has powers, or whether or not he has abilities, or dragons, or the ability of the animal that he so speaks. The thing is that he has objectively done things in the world that have been net positives, and he has committed acts of heroism. And honestly, for that reason, I really do think he is down the middle, and I do think that is interesting to truly look at. I really don't think he's a character that you can say is completely a good character or completely a bad character. I think he is down the middle, like I said, and that's why I don't agree with either side of the spectrum. Yeah, you can call me a fence rider, but the thing is that I really do think the amount of good he does weighs in when it does come to the bad that he does. I do think a lot of the bad things, in particular the sexism, like I said, is the product of very bad writing. I don't know what they were doing when they decided to do that to Dareth, but I honestly don't think it's inherently within Dareth's character. The thing is that there have been many scenes within the course of the rest of the show that have proved the otherwise. He has done a lot of different things for characters like Nia that have objectively not been sexist. I really do think that's just bad writing. But again, when you look at the most consistent actions that he has within the show, he definitely does do a lot of good. But again, it does weigh when it does come to the bad. He is just a very difficult character to speak about, and I do think that is my ultimate conclusion. I think he's just simply down the middle. I don't think there is just too much to really say about him. I'm kind of happy with the position he's in now as well when it does come to Dragon's Rising. I would honestly rather him continue to be a character that pops up once every few seasons, and that is basically it. Because the overuse would definitely tilt me back towards him being bad. But like I said, as it stands, I think he is currently fine. But what is your opinion on Dareth? I would like to know if you do sit very far in either way of the spectrum. I would like to know if you meet me in the middle and you find him to just be a bit of both in a lot of different ways. I'm very curious to know your opinion on him because he is extremely divisive. But that is a conversation that I can't wait to see when it does come to the comment section. But I hope you enjoyed the video and thank you very much for watching. And if you did enjoy the video, please consider subscribing. I love talking about Ninjago with more people. And if you do want to support the channel any further, which you do not have to, you could always consider becoming a channel member. Honestly, the legends on screen, I cannot thank you enough. And a particular shout out to the eternal legend, Grandmaster Sensei 28208 for supporting the channel even further. Thank you very much, my friend. But that is about it for today, you guys. And thank you very much for watching. Take care. Okay,